There is the whole saying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it is true, but have you ever wondered how does that eye or eyes decide what is beautiful? I have talked about Korean beauty standards before, and I have shown several times that beauty and attractiveness is not as simple as covering a list of characteristics or having the ideal features. But how this exactly works? A while back, I did this video of Blackpink, and many people were surprised to find out that idols like Jennie cover only 50% of the Korean beauty standards. And still, most of the people watching her will say that she's objectively pretty, beautiful, cute, hot, sexy, etc. Words that express her attractiveness. I wanted to dwell deeper into this, so I decided to make this video, hoping you get as excited as I was when I found out all this new information. You see, there have been several approaches to define beauty, and to some extent, even measure it. Rhodes proposes in this article that there are some biological standards that people use to identify beauty. These are averageness, symmetry, and sexual dimorphism. Averageness has to do with representing the expected traits in the population, and symmetry with the space and proportions between the traits. For example, here we have a photo of the average traits for a Chinese woman, and this other from Rhee Biometric study that shows the average Korean traits. Both are not necessarily considered really attractive faces, but they will be picked or preferred over distinctive or different traits most of the time. This is because the harmony of the whole face is more important, and being closer to the average is not a bad thing. Using both averageness and symmetry is how we get the measurements and proportions that sometimes are used to compare the faces or even Photoshop them, the so-called golden ratio proportions. Then again, this is just one perspective based on certain ideals, and sometimes focus on only one race, and they do not represent the only kind of beauty or attractiveness there can be. Let's go to Jennie to prove this. Jennie covers some of the proportions. For example, if we divide her face in 3 parts, we can observe she maintains symmetry. She also is known for having a small face, one of the Korean beauty standards. However, there is some interesting information about this. In the study of QOVES of 2015, there was an evaluation of the preferred facial appearance by Koreans, where they compared participants of Miss Korea with a control group from the general public. One of the results of this study is that the Miss Korea group exhibited a greater facial height, or a greater distance between the menton and the trachea. We will have to really measure Jennie's face using the cephalometric measurements to know her exact facial height. But if we compare her with the average Miss Korea participants, as expected, she seems to have a smaller face. Now, how can this be, especially since Koreans are known to like small faces? Well, there are other factors where having a longer and narrower face could be part of a more desirable trait. This is, for example, a V shape. In this analysis of the gonal angle, it is established that a 126-degree angle is the ideal average for a woman, and many other sources have stated that an obtuse angle of 130-degree or more is actually more attractive. However, QOVES study reported that a narrow jawline angle of 113-degree was more commonly found in the beauty pageant's participants. There is no real concordance on which is better universally, but for Koreans, a slim jawline with V-shape is agreed upon. There are 2 ways of having this feature, either with an obtuse jaw angle, like in Honey face, or with a narrower angle but a longer face that will have a longer distance between the gonal point and the menton, and the gonal and the zygoma point. Or as expected, you could achieve it with a surgery. In the case of Jennie, she has a narrower angle, similar to the preferred ones in Koreans, and also the angle similar to those of beauty icons like Angelina Jolie. But her face length and negative OG curve makes her have a rounder face shape, no V shape. The OG curve is the curve that appears between the zygoma point and the gonal point, and it is more prominent when having high cheekbones and a longer space between these points, or what can also be known as the model look. If we check Jennie, her bizygomatic width is in symmetry with her face, not being too close to her eyes and covering approximately the 70% of the length of her face. However, her small and round face has a small distance between the gonal and zygoma points, and her OG curve is not defined, or in other words, she has round cheeks. This is not bad. Actually, a heart-shaped face that is considered a Korean beauty standard has a short space between these points. This just means she has softer features. Besides, the model or gone look is mostly fake or achieved through unhealthy practices, and almost no one has it naturally. Not that it will stop all the magazines or fashion editorials from editing her photos. Now here comes the interesting part. If you have watched until now, you will have clearly seen that the features exhibit apply only partially to Jennie. So, what makes her attractive? We haven't talked about the third aspect discussed by Rhodes in her article, sexual dimorphism, or in other words, feminine and masculine traits or features. Femininity is strongly attractive for women faces. Actually, the effect is bigger than the preference of masculinity in male faces. The effects of sexual dimorphism in attractiveness is proven in one of David Perrett's studies. He exaggerated the differences in 4 sets of pictures. The images that showed a very feminine face, called neotinous or facial neotiny, had elongated eyes and lips and a smaller head shape, nose, brow, and jawline, and almost everyone, men and women, rated it more attractive. Jennie has really distinctive feminine features. She has traits of facial neoteny, or what is considered baby face features. These kind of faces are more common in Asia, as biologically they have smaller skulls and softer lines. The attractiveness of these faces comes from considering them youthful, and impaired with some strong features can be considered the best of both worlds. Like with Angelina Jolie, her strong jaw contrasts with the rest of her facial neoteny traits. In the case of Jennie, she has really distinctive lips and eyes that help create the contrast we just mentioned. In the study of QOVES, the Miss Korea group had greater lip vermilion areas, or what we would call fuller lips, a feature that Jennie highly covers. This trait is considered more of a mature feminine quality, rather than youthful. Now, to the eyes, she has larger eyes than the average, a desired quality, and her exanthem point, or the end of her eye, is slightly upwards. This helps her define a cat eye makeup easily, a technique often used to enhance the appeal of the eyes, though it could also be considered aggressive in some cases. But for her, it's perfect. It is a contrasting feature to her youthful or facial neoteny qualities. This, at the end, is a real attractive combination, and it creates a harmony between all her features. We could continue discussing measurements and proportions indefinitely. But the important aspect is that we understand that beauty is more complex than just a list of traits. The harmony of the face, or the combination between averageness, symmetry, and sexual dimorphism, dictates the appeal of it. No feature is better than other if there isn't harmony between the rest of the traits. I hope you liked this video, and if you want to see more, maybe analysis of what makes other idols attractive, tell me down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, and a shout out to this channel. They try to define beauty using information from several research articles and analyze Instagram edits. I was hooked and inspired. Long story short, I ended up reading lots of articles about beauty and Korean and Asian aesthetics, and thus how this video came to be. You can check it out if you want to know more about beauty, Hollywood celebrity faces, and Photoshop.